Hi everyone, so in this video we're going to talk about how to use coils as a decorative technique within a vessel. So the very first thing that you want to do is you want to start with a form to base your vessels off of. Here I'm using a large punch bowl that I first wrapped with paper towels because it had a foot on the bottom that I wanted to try to get rid of. So I used paper towels to create like a little bit of a dome at the top to fill in that gap that the foot creates. Then I didn't have any saran wrap, so I actually used some press and seal that works the same way and covered the entire vessel and form with that. I used some masking tape to help hold all of it down and in place. What this is going to do is it's going to act as a barrier. So once I have all the coils laid out onto the form the way I like, and I've set it up a little bit with a hair dryer, and I need to go remove it off of the form, it's really going to keep the coils, the clay, from sticking to the ceramic punch bowl. Here you can see where I have extruded several coils of clay so far and set to the side, but the extruder doesn't get the coils quite as small as I would like for my specific design. So what I'm going through and doing now is I am thinning out each coil and working really hard to try to get them very unified and similar throughout. So I'm taking my time. I start at the very center of the coil and work my way through from end to end to make sure that the coils are unified throughout and the same thickness from start to finish. You'll also notice that as I'm working, I will periodically spray the coils or mist them with this water bottle. I had previously extruded these coils the day before, so the clay is already a little bit dry, but we want to make sure that we're keeping these at a very nice plastic rate while we're working, so they're not cracking as we start to shape the coils. You might notice that I've already laid down a little bit of clay at the very center of this bowl. What I did was I rolled a thin coil and then cut it into smaller pieces to get very similar size and shape circles to be the center of my flower. You might notice that I have my sketchbook sitting to the left of my project, and I'm being very careful to continuously refer back to my sketch and my design while I'm working to lay out these coils and figure out the perfect position for them. If you haven't used the extruder yet and haven't watched the video, I'd suggest you go in and do that first before starting your coil project. It will greatly help you in advancing fairly quickly within your coil project. The extruder extrudes coils like you can see to the right that are a little bit thicker, but like I mentioned before, you can go in and customize these coils, making them a little bit skinnier to fit your particular design. It's vital that as you work from class to class period and continue to advance on this particular project, that you're making sure that you store it appropriately with adding some damp paper towels to it, making sure that it's wrapped up air dry. You definitely don't want your coils to dry out too much, or your project in general to dry out too much while it's still on the form. Specifically, you'll notice that my project, I am draping these coils over a form. So remember, when clay dries, what does it do? It shrinks. So if this project starts to dry out and it's draped over this punch bowl form, then as it dries out, it's going to cause the project to crack and break. So it's really important that I try to work as quickly as possible but that I'm also keeping the clay wrapped up and stored and keeping it from drying out in between class periods. If your project is laying on the inside of a vessel, so if you are slumping your coils into a form, then you don't have to be quite as paranoid about the dry rate because it shouldn't have any problem as it dries. The next step that you need to do is to make sure to smooth all the coils together on one side. This is really going to help ensure that your vessel stays put together and doesn't fall apart. Once you've done this step, it's now time to remove the clay off of the form. Before you do this, it may be necessary to dry it with a hairdryer to make sure that it's going to keep its shape. Once you remove the form, your coils will be exposed. You'll now be able to go in and smooth out any recoils or creases that have been created within the coils that you might not want to be there. And this is how my final project turned out once glazed.